I want to go a little bit deeper and talk about how our friendship has continued over the last 4 years, even though you've lived in 3 different zip codes. You've gone from Dallas to far South Texas, and now you're in Central Texas. But we stay in touch. I mean, we're texting on
Yeah.
Friday nights, and this fall we memorized the scripture together, which was hilarious trying to do that through text, but we did it, and we got some stuff out of it, and it was a passage from Isaiah, and I loved just having someone walk alongside me with that. So we have been through some ups and downs, and this whole when our nation started to kind of unravel over the last month or so, of course, my heart has been heavy for you. Because you're such a dear friend. And the Lord is so sweet. He reminded me of something that happened to me over 40 years ago. I was, and this, believe me, this whole conversation is not going to be about me, but I want to share this because maybe some other coaches' wives will go, oh yeah, that's where I am too. And it'll inspire them to really listen to your words. But about 42 or 3 years ago, I had a sister, I don't even know if you know this, but I had a sister that had cancer. And she died when she was 18, and I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11, very, very sick, very frail. And one day we were at home, and our bedrooms were upstairs. She fell down the stairs, and I could hear her down there calling for help. And I knew my mom was in the house somewhere, and I sat in my bedroom petrified to move. I was so afraid of what I was going to see if I walked out and looked over the railing or went down the stairs to wait with her. And I allowed my fear to prevent me from helping, from doing anything, just because I just was afraid. And the Lord reminded me of that. And I don't want to be that way now. I don't want to spend the rest of my life wishing. I had reached out to you, my sister, and said, hey, what can we do? How can I help? Let me walk with you. Let me see what's going on. Let me look at the ugliness. And I don't want to live in that regret forever. So Kaya and I are crossing our uncomfortable boundaries, and we want to just have an authentic conversation about what is going on in our culture. Clearly, this is going to affect all coaches and coaches' wives who coach kids. You know, race is an issue that we have to deal with. We can't hide out in our room and, you know, hope that we remain safe and not look at the ugliness. We have to look at it, and we have to get involved. And I don't want to be, I don't want to just stay in my room and not look. And so I challenge our coaches' wives, don't just sit there and not do something. By doing that, you're doing nothing. So all that to say, my beautiful sister, I'm reaching out to you right now. I'm looking over the balcony. I'm running down the stairs, and I'm coming to you, and let's hash this out. Let's have an open conversation, not driven by emotion, but driven by relevant action that our coaches' wives can take. So we talked this morning. We hammered out a few bullet points we're going to cover. First of all, Kaya, what can we do to really care about kids of color, kids of race, kids who are different from us? What can we do to care about them and their life outside, and these were your words, outside of their uniforms, outside of their ball game outfit, more than just cookies on Thursday night? What can we do?
Well, first I just want to say that I appreciate the bravery that it takes to look over the balcony. I don't think that we acknowledge each other's bravery in all of this enough. And we have to do that. We have to say that in this instance, Lucifer will not win. In order to tackle the issue, we must do it together. It's going to be tackled one way or the other. But Lucifer cannot win. His highest goal in all of this is to keep us divided. And his nightmare, his worst nightmare, is for us to work together and to view the issue the same. And if we view it the same as this is an issue of humanity, then he's defeated. Well, he's already defeated. The day that Jesus rose again, he defeated death, hell, and the grave. So that's already settled. But it is where we stand on the issue, whether or not we rise with him. And so I'm so grateful that I have friends in my life, and that we have all collectively chosen to rise in that victory with our Savior. And so I just want to thank you for reaching out to me, and I hope that you feel that I'm reaching out to you in that same way and having this conversation together. As coaches' wives, the first thing we can do is to look at our husband's job as a ministry and as ourselves as missionaries. We don't have to cross a continent or a body of water to think of ourselves as missionaries. As you said, I've lived in 3 different zip codes in the past two and a half years, and cookies don't do the job. It's, do those kids that we serve or that our husbands serve believe that the woman that stands behind the man truly care about each and every one of them? Because once they step out of the uniform and once they step off the field or the court, some of our children, some of those student athletes, even if they're college student athletes, truly feel that their lives are in danger. They truly don't feel safe. And when they look at us, do they think, well, she goes back to her home that's comfortable, she educates her children on our backs, and it's a different life than what I'm going through. So what can I do to make that young man or that young lady feel like I really do care? When I look in their eyes, do I know their names? And behind their name, do I really care about their story? Not just their number on the court. I'm just cheering for them because I want them to win, because I want my husband to get that paycheck. Do I care about their life outside of the court? If you're a college wife and your husband is on the recruiting trail, he's got to know everything about that young person. He's promising, walking into these homes and saying to their mothers and their fathers or grandparents and whoever's in their life, I'm going to take care of this young person. And they're getting to know their favorite color. They're getting to know who their friends are. They're getting to know everything about that young person. As a coach's wife, are you doing the same? Are you following them on social media? You may not have to friend them, but are you following them? Do you know a little bit about this person that you're cheering for on Saturday afternoons or on Sundays or on Thursdays or Tuesdays? For high school coaches' wives, who are their parents? Do you speak to their parents in the grocery store? Do you know their parents' names? Do you know what their favorite subject is in school? Are you keeping up with more than just your husband's position, quarterbacks or receivers? Do you notice the guys on defense when they make an interception? And when you see them, just when you're going to visit your husband at the office, and you see that young man, do you know that young man's name enough to say, hey, baby, I saw those 2 interceptions you got the other night. Way to go. By the way, how's math going? Math wasn't my best subject, but I bet you're a genius at math. Is there anything I can do for you? Asking them what they care about. What's your favorite singer? Oh, I don't know that singer. What's your favorite song? And then actually go look up that song. And the next time you see that young man, you say, hey, I looked up that song. I didn't like that cursing a whole lot. Mrs. Ryon or Mrs. James doesn't really like that cursing, but I like the message. Can I share with you my favorite song? Those kinds of things that you want to know the person behind the number, that we want to know about their life in some way. Not in a way that crosses any kind of line, that's inappropriate, right, but that we care about them. It is a ministry, it's a mission, And if we think about it that way, then it says to that young person, your life matters to me.
I love that. I love that. And that is exactly what you were saying about the enemy. Satan is trying to create division. And so just by bringing up those few little points you made about how we can personally get involved, that erases some of that, because the division is already there. We don't have to build it. You know, the stairway is in between me and that child. And so I just have to decide, what am I going to do about it? And that's a great point. Okay, Kaia, for so many of us, coaches' wives, and just women, I think in general, we want to look at this as a project, and we have that. These were your words, savior mentality of, you know, we're going to take charge and get this thing wrapped up or whatever. How can we walk away from that mentality or that mindset and tackle this realistically?
Well, first of all, we can recognize that there's but one Savior. That's Jesus. And but for his grace, we would be wretched.
That's right.
So to look at a young person and say, well, you know, they're really poor, and nobody needs anybody's pity. Nobody appreciates anybody's pity. What I personally try to say when I'm, you know, talking about young persons or their situation. I've been in school districts, or my husband has coached, where the children come from financially privileged homes, but they're low on love because the parents are working, and they feel like, well, I give the money, so, you know, they don't need much of my time. And I've been in places where financially the children live in very impoverished situations, but big on love. And so to equate finances with love is something that we do often, without even realizing.
Instinct.
So, so to speak about children and say, well, you know, they come from really broken, I'm in a school district where they come from really broken homes, and, you know, they don't have food, and we're just getting by giving them peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and, you know, we're just really trying, and it's really tough for them. And, you know, if we talk about our players and our players' families in those kinds of ways, and our players hear that, it's very demeaning to them. I'd rather say that, hey, you know what? We are in a situation where it's tough for our kids to make it to practice, and we just get excited about supporting them in any way we can. They work hard to make it to practice, and we're just thrilled about that. What a great thing for them. You know, they're hard workers, and later in life, that's going to be a plus in their category. It means a lot to them to make it to practice. For the kids that can't afford to be there, hey, we're just going to love up on them because their families work a whole lot. They have the money to go to Chick-fil-A for lunch, but, you know, they need that extra love, and we are in a position where we can give that to them. But there's just but one Savior. And so the way that we frame things, the way that we talk about it, can have a big impact on the way that the children receive it and the way that the kids think about themselves. And so just our own mindset of who we think we are personally can have a difference, can make a difference in the way that we speak. And the way that we speak impacts the way that we're received. And even in college athletics, if you're a college coach's wife, I've been there. You know, I've been on the private planes, the charter planes, and lived that life, the bowl game life and all that. And you know what? I've had kids, big kids, linemen come to my home, and they need the same kind of love. They don't need a savior. They don't need a second mom. If they view us as second moms, that game, that means we've done something right. That means we've reached out our heart in love. If they can teach us something too. But that's not the goal, to be somebody's second mom. The goal is to love. The goal is to show the compassion of Jesus. The goal is to serve. And when we do that job, then it's benefiting the kingdom, and it's who we serve. Not, we serve the master. We were not to be trying to save people. That's his job. And if we look at it that way, then I think it's helpful to the kingdom, number one, but also to the young people. And they will find us to be more genuine.
I think I love that. And again, it goes right back to what you said about division. Satan has created a world that is divided. And when we are viewing it as a project, then we are viewing a hierarchy of standards. And here I'm higher and you're lower. And we cannot have that mentality, because it does create division, even if it's, unconsciously created. It is a divisional mindset. And I think you are that's great advice about just getting our heart right and our thoughts in line with that, and thinking about it differently, in equality, not in superiority. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, Kaya, a lot of our kids, their lifestyles are very different from a coaching family. Generally, coaching families are very close. And we all know these kids' lifestyles are different. We've all had husbands who've given, I'm late. I've got to give kids rides home. I've got to leave early. I've got to pick up kids. I mean, that's just part of the gig. So how can we kind of get involved with their different lifestyle while maintaining boundaries, but still recognizing, hey, your lifestyle's different. I'm going to jump in. But how do we do that?
I think we can get involved in organizations in our community. To be a coach's wife that doesn't have our ear to the ground, that's not a presence in the community, is, I think, a disservice to the ministry, really, of a coach's wife.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just going to be raw here. Either we can be that coach's wife that is enjoying the benefit on the backs of these young men and women, sitting by our pools. And I'm not saying that that's not, our husbands work very hard.
Right.
And as a coach's wife, we all know that life. If we have children, those of us who have children, the husbands work hard, long hours, away from the home, taking care of children. And so we know what that's like to even have to, before the children get old enough, take out the trash. I mean, coaches' wives know what that's like, to take out the trash and to deal with, the plumber if something breaks, and to pay the bills and to keep the family functioning while the husband is out there ministering. So I'm not saying, don't take a vacation, don't get your nails done, don't sit by the pool. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I am suggesting is that if that's all we do, we sit like the little wife, the princess, and we choose not to get involved in the community where our husband is serving and get to know the needs of the people, but we're benefiting off the backs of the people. That just to me doesn't look right. And those kids are looking at us. You mean I'm going to go out here and I'm going to run the ball, I'm going to shoot the ball, I'm going to do all of this, and then I'm going to go back to my house where I may not have very much to eat. I may have difficult circumstances in my home, but yeah, your husband's with me and he's working, but he's going to go home to you and you're getting your nails done and you don't even think twice about my living situation. And then you look down your nose at me and the way I live and the way I dress and the way my family dresses and the way we talk. That's a problem, and as coaches' wives, the thing we can do is we can say, let me get involved in the community. Let me get involved in an organization where I feed the hungry, or at least I know if the kids in my community are hungry.
Right.
If the parents in my community can pay their bills. Is there an organization where I can sit on a committee where I can, help pay the bills? Those things. We can do that as coaches' wives. We have time to do that. If you're a substitute teacher, are you listening to what the children are saying about the good teachers and also about the teachers that need to be weeded out, that aren't treating our athletes well?
That's right.
If you're a college coach's wife, I've been there. There's plenty of time. There's time. There's time to serve in the community. There's time to get to know the boosters of the institution and hear what they're saying about our athletes and hear what other people in the community are saying about our athletes. There is time to be involved instead of just being on social media and living a lifestyle of a coach's wife. We have to have the ministry of the coach's wife versus a lifestyle.
I love what you said right at the beginning. As a coach's wife, we should be keeping our ear to the ground. It's our responsibility. If that's our husband's position and we're in this thing together, we need to know what's going on and not just be, blind to that. I love how you challenged that, because if you don't know what the issues are, if you're not, back to my story, if I wasn't willing to walk out of my bedroom and look over the railing at the issue, I was too afraid to do that out of immaturity or whatever. If you don't know what the issues are, then you're not gonna make a difference, and you're not standing with your husband as a team together. You're not helping him at all. But as a coach's wife, you are a prominent figure in the community, and we have every right to keep our ear to the ground, to be involved, and to know what's going on, and to ask the questions. And so I love how you point out the importance of that, because it is very, very important. Okay, so Kaya, how do we, and we talked a little bit about this on the phone, how can we as coaches' wives, maybe coming from a different culture, a different race, whatever, a lot of us as coaches' wives end up in communities and we think, how did we get here? And what am I doing here? I'm not connecting with these people. And we feel different, and we are different, but how can we connect maybe with certain students who are not like us? How do we connect with them while remaining authentic? How do we prevent that pattern of, trying to be cool and all that? How do we connect with them?
Well, I think first it's to educate ourselves. That's important, especially right now. I would say first thing, avoid making political posts and it's natural to, if this is how you feel about an issue, you want to spout off. But if you spouting off is going to hurt the people that your husband serves, don't do it. Just don't. Because yes, it might make you feel good and it might make you fit in with your friend group, but it's hurting children or young people that your husband is around. And why would you want to do that? Aren't they more important than your friend group? These are young people. And so I would say educate yourself first on what is the issue? What is the hurt? Understand where these young people are coming from. Because in the current issue, there's 401 years of hurt that these young people are dealing with. And it's easy to say, well, I didn't enslave anybody, and I don't see color, and how can you not see color?
Right.
I mean, you have two eyes. I have two eyes. I see if somebody is white or black or brown. I do. Maybe I don't judge them, based upon their color, but I see color. So automatically, if you're making that statement to a young person, oh, you know, I love you, I don't see color. The young person doesn't even believe you because they see color. So just educating ourselves on the things that we're saying, even if we're well-meaning, getting with somebody and saying, I want to understand the issue before I interact with young people. I want to understand why are people so hurt right now? And then number two, I would say, if your husband hasn't reached out to his players or her players, so if you're a husband and your spouse, you know, it hasn't reached out to the players, I would be that voice to say, hey, you need to reach out to your players once you're educated enough. These are hurting young men that are under your watch. They need to hear from you. It's not enough to say, okay, well, we're going to start football, basketball, tennis, baseball. Let's go, like nothing ever happened. Their worlds are turned upside down. And to not even acknowledge that is not okay. It's not okay. They're going to say, yes, sir. But in the back of their mind, that silence is speaking so loudly to them. And it's one thing to have respect for somebody, and it's another thing to do what they say do because you say to do it and they have to. So I would encourage a coach's wife to say to her husband, have you said anything to the young men that you're with? And if you don't know what to say, reach out to somebody that can help you. As a coach's wife, I would say, if you're a college coach's wife, I would say for your position, you know, if you're a quarterback wife, if you're a wide receiver's wife, cornerback's wife, I would even say write your position a letter from your family and say, you know what, I know and you can be very honest with them. I know things are tough right now in the world. And I know when my husband recruited you or when our staff recruited you, we said that we'd take care of you as family. I want you to know that you mean so much to my family. You are family to us. Your life does matter to us. And if you don't feel safe, let me know. Yeah. Little things like that go a long way. I would also say, don't try to be somebody that we're not. Those things come from perception. If I walk up to a young man and I try to speak slang or I try to do rap verses, that's not who I am. Mm-hmm. And it's playing into a perception that that young man likes slang or that young man likes rap. I'm not being authentically me. And, you know, he may laugh because he might be afraid and may engage because he might be afraid that me as a coach's wife is going to go back. If he doesn't respond the way I wish for him to respond, I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell my husband and he's going to get in trouble or he's going to be benched or treated not well by my husband because I didn't treat his wife well, right. Which happens. Some coaches' wives do that. Well, you know, I just want you to know, I don't, you know, he did not say yes, ma'am to me. He did not treat me nicely, like the lady Amy Cooper in Central Park. We do that sometimes as coaches' wives. Yeah. But it was on me. I'm the one that pressed my behavior on that young man. I shouldn't do that. I should just be authentically me. Hi, how are you? Young people will accept us for who we are. We're just trying to be nice. But, you know, just like as a parent, don't expect anything from the young person. Right. If you go with a genuine heart, it'll be fine. And if they say something back, great. If they don't, great. Next time you see them, just try again. Just be who we are. And that's the best thing I can say, the best advice I can do.
I love that. I love how you brought out the point that a lot of these kids are living in fear right now. And so we have got to address it. But when you talked about even letter writing, reaching out, you know, how easy would that be? My husband coaches offensive line. How easy to just text all those boys in a group text and say, hey, me and coach were praying for you. We care about you.
Yes.
If you ever are afraid or need someone to talk to, give us a holler.
Yeah.
How easy is that? It takes 5 seconds. But it could go such a long way on that whole thing that you talked about, just being authentic. So I love that. That's a great suggestion. Okay, last topic. And this is important because this is something that I think the coaching community always does, has done for years. Often as a coaching community, we talk differently about kids to maybe our coaching family or our close friends or even our own children are around. And these were your statements that you brought to light. We will make statements such as, oh, he's a player, or he's fast for a white boy. I mean, we make statements already that set our kids up into a category, and we're not really expressing who their identity truly is. What kind of damage are we doing with that? And how do we change that verbiage?
Yeah, if a coach's family is speaking that way, then it seems like it's okay or it's true.
Yeah.
Other people that hear us speaking that way seem like, well, that's the Bible. So if a coach's family says, well, he's fast for a white boy, well, that then means that, oh, well, white boys aren't generally fast, so it's okay to say that. Number one, it's okay to say that. And well, let me perk up and watch that young man because he's something different or special.
Right.
Well, I've been around a lot of fast white boys, and I've been around a lot of slow black boys.
Yeah.
We just need to speak about an athlete's characteristics. Wow, we've got a great receiver who's got wheels, and let somebody show up to the ball game, and if they're black or they're white or they're Asian or they're Hispanic, doesn't matter. That's one of our kids. That's one of our players. Oh, well, we've got a quarterback. This one, he happens to be really smart about the game. Well, most quarterbacks need to be smart. I mean, that's part of the position, that you're smart as a quarterback. Are black quarterbacks not normally smart?
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying?
Right.
No, in order to play the position, you have to be smart, but that's playing into a stereotype. So as coaches' families, the onus is on us to stop speaking that way. Oh, well, we're just trying to keep them out of trouble.
Yeah.
No, our players are good guys. They're good kids. And if they do mess up or something does happen, and we hear somebody in the community speak about our players, it's our job to stand up for our players, not stand up for wrong. No, but we don't let people in the community bash our players and talk negatively about our players. We ask them, like a mama bear would. Yeah. Do you know that for sure? Were you there? Are you just saying something you heard? No, you know what? That kid's a good kid. If we do that as coaches' families and coaches' wives, and even in our own home, around our own kids, if we are speaking positively. Now, of course, there are things that are true that, as husbands and wives, we're talking about things, but let's try not to do it in front of our kids, and let's try not to perpetuate stereotypes. Right. We can discipline ourselves to do that. And when we do that, then we can keep our communities in check and we can keep society in check. But if it doesn't start at home with coaches' families, how can we expect society to do it?
Yeah.
We can't.
I love that. I love what you just said. Discipline ourselves. Let the words of our mouth be acceptable to the Lord. It's going to take discipline and probably going to change how we were raised. Statements we've heard all of our life. we need to stop
Yes.
and think about that. Is this truth? Is this uplifting to that young man or young woman, or to the slow white boy or the slow black boy? Is this, you know, how I want to present that child of God? Is that how we want to define them? And then, you know, by changing that definition, we can change a perception for our children and our community, in our coaching community, and who knows what can happen. But it starts, you're right, with our own mouth, and paying attention and being disciplined how we view God's creation and his precious children, all of them. It doesn't matter what color, what gifting they have, they need to be recognized for, you know, who they are and how God created them. I love how you brought that back around. And okay, so Kaya, just to close out, this has been, I think, magnificent, and I hope that our coaches' wives are challenged to look to the frail, fragile community right now, because that's, my heart was afraid to do that, and it just, we have got to step out and do that. And so I really thank you for talking with me through this. And one day I'm going to call you back and just like get you to do a whole thing on prayer. You guys have got to hear her pray. She's amazing. So anyway, let me just close this out, and I'm going to pray for you real quick, and then we'll say goodbye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Lord, thank you so much for my beautiful friend Kaya, and just the statement that she makes with her eloquence and the gift that you've given her with communication. And I pray that you will walk with her as she looks ahead to this upcoming season, and give her wisdom in her community. And thank you for the things that she shared with us, and help us to remember this and help it to be impactful on us, and just show us the way to go, Lord. And we trust you in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Kaya, thank you, and I love you. And
I love you too, Anne.
we'll talk again soon. So I'm going to sign off here.